special.
On consecutive days.
You don't
No
stop,
doubt.
but you are here, so
No
let's
doubt.
get into it. Coming up on the show, rapper, producer, entrepreneur, the one and only Birdman is here. He'll join us at the desk. He has a new show. We'll get into that. Also, what he thinks about Dwayne Wade leaving his Miami Heat. That is coming up a bit later, but we start in New York with the Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick should be under center week 1. The Jets and Fitzpatrick have ended their contract dispute, agreeing to a 1-year, fully guaranteed $12 million deal, according to our Adam Schefter. Now, when Brandon Marshall heard he had his quarterback back, he tweeted this photo of him, Nick Mangold, Eric Decker, with the caption, "Well-deserved and great move by the Jets. Congrats, bro. Now we need to go win some dang games." Hashtag New York, hashtag Fitzmagic. Fitzpatrick had refused to sign the initial offer of 3 years, $24 million, including a total guarantee of $15 million. So the Jets will now have to create room under the salary cap for Fitz. So they only have $9.1 million in cap space, that according to NFLPA records. Stephen A., did Fitzpatrick get a raw deal?
Here's what I'm going to say. I don't think he got a raw deal. He could have got more, but I don't think he got a raw deal. In the end, what this comes down to is very, very simple. You could sit up there. I don't think it's something for him to celebrate. He's not going to have a miserable season or anything like that. But was he worth more than $12 million for this particular season? Yes. Now, I know that a lot of people out there are going to look at him. They're going to look at his career record, which is under 500. They're going to consider him a proverbial backup per se, perennial backup, and he's not somebody that you should look at and say, well, you know what, he should have gotten more than $12 million. He should be satisfied. But what I would say to people is this: the Jets were 4-12 before last season. Last season, they finished 10-6. It's a 6-game improvement. Up until that last regular season game against the Buffalo Bills, in which they lost, had an opportunity to get into the playoffs, Max, and they failed to do so. The bottom line is that Fitzpatrick played lights-out football. He passed for nearly 4,000 yards. He completed nearly 60% of his passes. I mean, I'm looking at his numbers right here. 31 touchdowns, 15 interceptions is not great, but 31 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, a QBR of 63, completing 59.6% of his passes, passing for 3,905 yards. What's the problem? When you consider today's NFL economy, when you consider that Jay Cutler's got a $100 million contract and Tony Romo's got a $100 million contract, of course, there are other great ones that we won't even mention them because Fitzpatrick doesn't deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as those guys. But when you look at what he did for the Jets last year, understanding the importance of continuity, the fact that Brandon Marshall and Eric Deckers of the world, people like that, are still there, and you have an opportunity to build upon something that you did last year, particularly with the Brickshaw Ferguson retiring and what have you. You got Nick Mangold and those boys back. You pretty much have the nucleus of your squad in place. You know, you've got Muhammad Wilkerson that you ended up keeping on board, etc. The Jets' defense is anticipated to be better because Todd Bowles is your head coach, a former defensive coordinator extraordinaire before he arrived in with the New York Jets. You don't want to mess this up. So it was good that they kept him. It was more good for the Jets, however, than it is good for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Because if you're Ryan Fitzpatrick, this was a prime opportunity to cash in. And unfortunately, they weren't able to do so. He wasn't able to do so as much as he would have liked. So the Jets came out far bigger winners than Fitzpatrick did in this equation. But I won't call him a loser because $12 million is $12 million for a guy that was considered a journeyman quarterback until we saw what we saw last year.
He didn't get a raw deal, Fitzpatrick. A raw deal? No. He's just not that good. I mean, let me start by saying, I preface every time we talk about an athlete on this level, you know, even a college athlete's a tremendous athlete, Division I. If you play in the NFL, in the NBA, in Major League Baseball, NHL, whatever, it goes without saying you are one of the best in the world in an extremely competitive endeavor. You're one of the best in the world, so of course you're great at whatever it is, at whatever sport you're playing. I get it. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about by the standards of the NFL. Fitzpatrick has never been, nor will he ever be, a good quarterback. At best, he's an average-ish quarterback. Now, if you're an average-ish quarterback, Stephen A., as you mentioned, in this day and age, given the vertical passing game, the importance of offense, being able to throw the ball down the field, given the moment of leverage for the Jets, who have a very good squad, and also given the fact that Geno Smith is the backup, and he has never shown, college or pros, that he's never given the indication that he could ever be consistent enough to be your starting quarterback and really make hay in the playoffs.
Right.
Given all of that, there was some leverage here for Fitzpatrick. And if he were 26 years old, Okay, he wants 3 years, 4 years. He wants to get paid, maybe not like Andrew Luck, of course, but better than he got paid for the year and over more years. Fine. But he will turn 34 years old this season. He's never really had one decent season in the past before this one. Turning 34 years old, and you mentioned it. He had one game he absolutely had to win against the Bills. Win and you're in. And he lost. So he's a 34-year-old on his best day average NFL quarterback who choked under pressure. I mean, I think some of it with Fitzpatrick is the perception of him is a little bit out of whack because he's Harvard. So people think Harvard, he must be a very smart quarterback. And in fact, to me, he looks like a mistake-prone quarterback, just not compared to Geno Smith. Compared to Geno Smith, Jets fans are like, oh, okay, we got a guy who can make some decisions. We got a guy who can be somewhat consistent throughout the year. But given his age, 1 year, $12 million, that sounds right to me.
Well, it doesn't sound right to me because I'm thinking about production. I'm thinking about what the market demands. I'm thinking about your situation, all about history. If I have Geno Smith as my alternative, I'm going to prioritize re-signing Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's point number one. No disrespect, Geno Smith, but damn it, get it together because you haven't looked that great. And then to come in the last season, before the season even began, to really ruin your season and potentially your career because you get knocked in your jaw because you decide to get in the face and talk smack to a 250-pound linebacker you owe money to. That is the epitome of stupidity. So let's be clear. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that because nobody usurps the stupidity of Alden Smith if he is guilty of being that Alden Smith that was in that video just the other day that we talked about. If that was him, that would usurp that level of stupidity. But outside of that, I'll give it to Geno. Then we go into the marketplace. Let me revisit that. And we will be talking about this throughout the day because we're going to get into Kirk Cousins a little bit later with the Redskins. Let's look at this, Max Kellerman. Kirk Cousins, 1 year, $19.95 million. $19.953. That's what he's scheduled to make this season. Ryan Tannehill. When's the last time the Miami Dolphins have been in the playoffs? I don't recall. I'll have to look it up because that's how long it's been since the Miami Dolphins have been in the playoffs. I don't even remember. But Ryan Tannehill is getting paid $19.2 million, okay? Let's look at Colin Kaepernick. He was on the mend. He was hurt. Wasn't himself. Did go to a Super Bowl. Can't knock that, okay? But clearly the last year or so in San Francisco.
I know you're not comparing Fitzpatrick to Kaepernick.
I am comparing Fitzpatrick to Kaepernick based off of last year because we are living in a world where it's all about what have you done for me lately. Not to bring up Janet Jackson, but it's appropriate.
But here on the planet Earth, if here on the planet Earth, Fitzpatrick's not Kaepernick.
Well, here on the planet Earth, Colin Kaepernick's got a lot to prove, and we don't even know if he'll have a starting job next year, whereas Ryan Fitzpatrick is fresh off a season where he threw for nearly 4,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, and is playing for a coach in Todd Bowles who clearly knows what he's doing on one side of the football, and McCagnon and him together are collaborating to bring the right personnel to the New York Jets. So I can see comparing the situations because of the situation that Ryan Fitzpatrick presently finds himself in. If it were not for last year, you would absolutely be right. But taking into account last season, I'm not going to dismiss that. Jay Cutler, 18.1. You know, I'm almost tempted to walk off this damn set right now when I hear that number. Jay Cutler at $18.1 million. I mean, the only time, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say it again from audience here. I've seen Jay Cutler smile once. And that was when he was signing his contract. It was almost like he was laughing at the Bears in the city of Chicago, okay, which should have barricades up to ban his leaderless self from being the face of that franchise. Don't get me started with no Jay Cutler, okay? So we've got that going on. And then, oh, by the way, Brock Osweiler, 7 starts, 5-2. He's at $18 million. I understand the situation. I understand everything that you can say because, you know, he coming from the Super Bowl champions. He fielded admirably when Peyton Manning went down. I get all that. All I'm trying to say is this. You, of all people, being the capitalist that you are, you almost put me to shame being the capitalist that you are. Considering that, when you look at the market and you look at the money that's out there, to give you those numbers and then to go to Ryan Fitzpatrick at $12 million, right now that ranks 23rd in the NFL in terms of salaries based on what I'm looking at right here. Well, he's at number 23. Yeah, I'm just looking at it. I'm like,
Okay, look.
All right.
Look, everyone you just mentioned. Let's table Jay Cutler for a second.
Thank you.
let's table him for a second because he quit on his team in the NFC Championship game, but he's certainly more talented than Fitzpatrick. And he's had a better career than Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick really hadn't done anything in his career.
And what has
Jay
Cutler done?
2 decent seasons.
And what has Jay Cutler
At least
done?
Jay Cutler has had a couple of seasons where during the regular season, he's been pretty good. Fitzpatrick had a chance to go to the postseason, and as soon as the pressure was on, choked. But everyone else you mentioned, including Tannehill, including Kaepernick, who else did you just mention?
You don't count it against Jay Cutler that he was riding a bicycle on the NFC Championship game on the sideline.
What did I start by saying? I said he quit in the championship.
But he didn't even have the decency to fake an injury or something. He was riding a bicycle. He was riding a bicycle. He became Lance Armstrong for crying out loud.
Let's table Jay Cutler.
All right.
Everyone else
outside of Jay Cutler.
Yes. Everyone else you mentioned is a younger quarterback, is a quarterback where teams have reason to believe they have at least as many good years ahead of them as behind them. Now, let's look at the marketplace. You're talking about what the marketplace will bear. There's a reason that Fitzpatrick is getting a 1-year, $12 million contract. There were teams that could have used a quarterback. Where were the offers? The rest of the league saw, because in the NFL it's a hard cap league.
No leverage.
The most important thing you can do as a GM is properly price talent. That goes for draft picks. You have to be able to properly evaluate and price talent. And the league looked at Fitzpatrick and what he wanted. He wanted length of contract and a decent guarantee. And there were no takers in the NFL. The marketplace said nope. And you know how ruthless the NFL is. So the Jets are sitting there going, all right, here's 1 year.
But, Max Kellerman, here's where your argument goes out the window, because you're talking years. I'm talking numbers, even if it's just for 1 year. And what I'm saying to you is that even though you have to take into account how much money the Jets have available, and we all understand it was a bit dicey for them right now, because it's dicey for them now that they agreed to give him the $12 million. I'm saying to you, for this 1 year, I'm not talking long term, for this 1 year, when you consider the season the Jets are coming off of, what you're considering Tyrann Taylor and his evolution in Buffalo and what they're going to bring, when you consider that Gase, who did a decent job, a very good job making Jay Cutler look decent, that's now in Miami, and what they're trying to do with Tannehill, you got to take that into consideration. When you know that Tom Brady is going to be fresh off a 4-game suspension, going to have attitude with everybody, and is going to run roughshod over the AFC East, if history is any kind of indication. If you've got all of that going on, you're the New York Jets. You can't disrupt this apple cart. See, this is the thing that annoys me about the Jets. And even though I love me some Todd Bowles and the crew, this is what gets on my nerve with them, meaning the brand that is the New York Jets. It has been 5 years since they've made the playoffs. 5. Rex Ryan didn't make it his last 4. And Todd Bowles didn't make it last year despite a 10-6 record. And you got to the final game of the regular season and you came up short, largely due in part to Ryan Fitzpatrick and a couple of other dudes. Here's what gets on my nerves about this. I can't stand when they walk around like they've won something and they get to sit up there. Oh, you know, it's all right. It's okay. We gotta mind our manners with this. We've got to mind our finances with that. Blah, blah. You know what? You need to remind us that you are actually trying to attempt to make a playoff berth. We need to remember this about the Jets, because they damn sure don't do a good job of reminding us that they're trying to be a playoff team.
Well, they're doing it now. I love when you make my point for me. Thank you for giving me all this evidence.
I
disagree.
Next week, by
the way. Yeah, 30-plus touchdowns, 15 interceptions. 31. 3 interceptions in the game they needed to win.
Sure.
In other words, it would have been a really nice season, except instead of 12, it's 15 interceptions, because when you needed him most, he choked.
Mm-hmm. One of them was a late,
okay. Still, you're talking about how much leverage. Essentially, everything you said about Fitzpatrick vis-a-vis the Jets is how much leverage he had with the team, given the moment, given the squad they have, given the opportunity in the division right now, given who's his backup. He has all this leverage. So the fact that he wound up with only $12 million, because you're saying the real problem is the number he got for this year. Forget about age. We're not talking about huge guarantee. The number he got for this year. What does that tell me? What does that tell everyone?
That there wasn't a market out there for him.
That he overplayed his hand. That's on Fitzpatrick. When there was more of a market, before teams spent their money, he was a little greedy. He was going for a little too long contract, a little too many, a few too many years. He overplayed his hand.
Stop the presses, Max
Or else he wouldn't get more than $12 million.
A flaming hypocrite on First Take. You are going to sit up there and talk about somebody overplaying their hand or going for the money?
Yeah.
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Of course you're going to go for. I'm going to go for. We're cap for the list.
Yes.
Proud of it.
So go
what do you
get
do?
it. So,
What do you,
so go get it.
You try to get it.
And what happens? And what happens when you overplay your hand? You get less than you would have otherwise got. The proof is in the pudding.
Well, it's not always that you get less than what you would have gotten.
This time
you get less than what you coveted. There's a difference. If you're Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're trying to tell me he's not justified for asking for more?
No, I'm not telling you that.
He is justified for asking for more.
I'm telling you this. According to you, did he get enough money this year or not?
I don't believe he did.
Therefore, he overplayed his hand.
Well, remember,
Your Honor, I rest my case.
No. Remember, the Jets at one time were talking $8-9 million. The initial reports that came out talked about how they weren't going to budge from that number. So getting the $12 million was actually better than what folks had reported he would have gotten months ago had he agreed to that deal.
But it would have been over multiple years. His guarantee would have been
Not necessarily. They were talking 1 year at the time.
I'm sorry, I rested my case. I can't say anything.
I have a quick follow-up before we go to break here. So, outside of New England, with Miami, Buffalo, Jets, who's most likely to go to the playoffs?
Miami, Buffalo, and between Miami, Buffalo, and New York.
The AFC East, who's most likely to go to the playoffs?
Tell me someone who really knows the answer to that question.
I think I do.
The Bills?
I think I do the Bills.
Yeah?
I think I do the Bills because, but it's not because of Rex Ryan. Because Rex Ryan has something to show me. I haven't been satisfied. I think Rex Ryan has made more he's had more success making headlines than actually on a football field. And I respect him as a coach, as a defensive mind, but last year was a very, very bad year for Rex Ryan in this respect. He usually was known for being a stout defensive, not a brilliant defensive mind who didn't have an offense. Tyrod Taylor came out of nowhere and put the football world on notice that this dude is no joke. You combine that with LaShawn McCoy. You combine that with Sammy Watkins, who you should have got the damn ball to earlier than you were getting him the ball. And Rex Ryan, if your defense shows up, the Bills could have been better. So as far as I'm concerned, Rex Ryan is on the clock right now.
I totally agree. If you take aim at Belichick and you state that going into the season and everything, there's only so many times you can play that card and always come up short before you turn into a joke.
So even with Fitz, the Jets aren't necessarily a playoff team. When we come back, more quarterback issues in Denver. Peyton Manning not walking through that door, so will John Elway be able to replace the legend with the quarterbacks on the Broncos roster? That is the discussion next. And you don't want to go anywhere because Birdman will be here to talk about his favorite player, Russell Westbrook. Broncos General Manager John Elway saying that he expects the quarterback competition to be wide open. Mark Sanchez, Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, Darren Woodson joins us now. How are we doing?
I'm doing great.
All right, your first.
What's up, man?
I'm enjoying it. I can't wait till you guys go to New York, the Jets camp. You just got done talking bad about it. You too, Max.
I don't think I was talking bad about it. I think I was just being honest. I think I was just being honest.
You're just telling the truth.
I mean, what do you think? I'm supposed to be scared.
No, Stephen A, you see what it is?
I'll be there.
See what
I'm coming.
He likes it when I tell the truth about boxing, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
right.
But you don't like it when we tell the truth about football.
You can't talk like that about football, man.
There you go.
You can't start that way.
There you go. Well, listen, be happy I'm allowing you on the show, former
Cowboy.
I'm just saying. You know, Molly, Cowboys are not really welcome.
No character issues right here. Thank you for being with us. You know we love having you. Darren, has Elway dropped the ball?
Listen, I think it started with Brock Osweiler. They had a chance. A quarterback that went 5-2, backed up Peyton Manning, went 5-2. They dropped the ball as far as signing Brock Osweiler. I think that's where it started. That's where it started. Listen, because you go 5-2 in that system with that defense.
We need a camera on Stephen A's face.
And it's proven that you've gone 5-2.
Please, someone put a camera on Stephen A's face.
I think that's where they started. I think that's where it started as far as dropping the ball, as far as signing a quarterback. Because now you're in a situation where you go and get a Mark Sanchez to come in, and basically he's supposed to be your starting guy. And now we're talking Trevor Siemian, who's a 7th-round pick, 250 to be exact. And then you got Paxton Lynch coming in as a true rookie. If you're a guy like DeMarcus Ware, you're on that defensive side of the ball, Von Miller, especially DeMarcus Ware, and you're at the twilight of your career, it's all about winning championships. That's all you want to do. And I've been in that position. I went from Troy Aikman to Carter.
Yep.
Right.
As a starting
Quincy Carter.
Quincy Carter.
Yeah, can't even remember his first name.
Sorry, man. But I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember his first name. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm at the twilight of my career. All I want to do is win football games. DeMarcus Ware is sitting there right now saying, who's going to win that starting? Who's going to win that starting job?
I can't take you.
And
I can't take you right now. I can't take you. I'm not letting you get away with this, Darren Woodson.
Go ahead, bring
You're
it
the
in.
same guy that was on this show last year. I love Peyton Manning, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest ever. But he's not the same. He has fallen off tremendously. Now you're telling me that they win a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning being a shell of himself, but John Elway dropped the ball because he offers Brock Osweiler in excess of $30 million, and Brock Osweiler didn't want to stay there and have the pressure of succeeding one of the great quarterbacks, being on a rating to finish Super Bowl champion, and he ran to Houston. That's what he did. That's what he did. That's what he did. I'm sorry. Do you not know? Do you not know?
$30 million.
Let me ask you.
Offered him. He said, "Listen, he
that's what they said.
I don't know that for giving Von Miller money. Who's to say he just threw money around to Brock Osweiler?"
Wait. That's homegrown and nurtured. You know, it's a little bit different for Brock Osweiler than it is for the brother named Von Miller running around playing around with snakes. All right, let's stop that nonsense, okay? We all know there's a different level of treatment that Von Miller was going to receive compared to Brock Osweiler, who was your nurtured, trained, groomed successor to one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. Yes. You know that. So
I think that's a good point about Osweiler. That was a sunk cost for them. They invested time in him, holding the clipboard.
That's all I'm saying.
Peyton. But here's the thing about John Elway.
Go ahead.
Look, John Elway got to the Super Bowl consecutive years, and one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. You could argue even the best, maybe, but got to the Super Bowl consecutive years as GM, once with an offense without a defense, the very next year with a defense without an offense. I mean, you got to give it to this guy. So before you criticize, you have to assume he knows what he's doing. However, here's the problem right now. Yeah. He said during the negotiations there should be a middle class for quarterbacks. He was sending a signal to Osweiler, look, you're not a bum, but you're not a franchise player either. We'd like to pay you in between. Osweiler wasn't trying to hear it. There was a market for him. We understand that. Here's where Elway messed up. He dropped the ball. As you said, this team is poised to win another championship. Who's their starting quarterback going to be most likely? Mark Sanchez. And let me tell you who Mark Sanchez is. Mark Sanchez is the Jeff Green of the NFL. The forward, NBA forward. He's a dangerous player. Like Jeff Green, he's dangerous. They're really backup players, but they're good enough in stretches to fool you into thinking they can be starters. And because you give them too much responsibility and they're not good and consistent enough, they sink your chances to win. That's Mark Sanchez.
I resent that comparison.
Simeon's not ready. Simeon's not ready, and Paxton Lynch is probably a year or two away.
Right.
They're going into the season without a quarterback.
Let me chime in here. Hold on for 1 second, Darren. First of all, it's an insult to Jeff Green because Jeff Green, well, first of all, he can play. He's relatively consistent, and even though he's good enough to make you believe he's a starter, he is somebody who's perfectly content playing whatever role you want him to play.
Should be on the bench.
As long as he gets his minutes and they're winning. Whereas Mark Sanchez will come out and tell you, lie to your face by telling you he deserves to be a starter when he himself knows good and damn well he's got no business being a starter.
Wait a minute.
He's a quarterback.
Did I stutter? I didn't stutter. That's number one. Get to your point number two. Get to your point number two. Brock Osweiler ran to Houston. Now, you're sitting up there and John Elway gets blamed for that? How? How?
But first of all, I'd like to say he probably didn't offer him the money that he wanted, that he probably wanted and deserved.
Well,
he
went listen to the inside. That's what they said.
5-2. Stephen A., he proved himself and went 5-2.
You know what? Tony Romo went 12-4. Don't get me started with what he deserved.
He didn't prove himself because the bottom line is on a team with the remains of Peyton Manning, because Peyton Manning was a terrible quarterback last year.
Absolutely.
With the remains of Peyton Manning got yanked in the middle of a playoff game, and as a direct result of that move, they were able to win a Super Bowl. So if you can't even ride it out with the remains of Peyton Manning.
It was not Peyton Manning that won that, went to the Super Bowl and took that team to the Super Bowl.
It was the defense. Which is no priority for John Elway to do that. To take care of Osweiler.
No, listen. I think if you look at it, he's a young quarterback, and you can't tell me that he didn't get rubbed wrong. Listen, if you're a competitor at a quarterback position, I don't care what position you're playing, and you're a guy, I don't care if it's Peyton Manning, if it's Joe Montana, and he's sitting on the bench, and you're the starting quarterback that day, and you're in a game, You don't want to get pulled. That's the rub.
Why
you get pulled? Why you get pulled? Why you get pulled? Hold on. Why you get pulled against San Diego that day?
He wasn't playing all that.
He came in and saved it. That's the point. He wasn't playing well. So what you supposed to do? I understand that. Well, actually, he threw for 69 yards, threw a nice good pass, got a couple of good passes. Wait a minute. I understand that. But the flip side to it, Darren Woodson, is this. You Brock Osweiler for this particular season. He's Peyton Manning. The man's been in the league for 18 years. He's universally the greatest regular season quarterback ever, one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. And you know good and well, not only are you not going to take the job away from him this particular season because this is his swan song, but also you win the chip and it's your team. It's your team.
Well, how do you know how? Listen. What was the rub? There had to be a rub somewhere along the line where Brock Osweiler felt like you don't appreciate.
Hold on.
It couldn't have been he didn't want that challenge. It couldn't have been he didn't want that challenge.
I think they didn't appreciate who he was.
Oh, really?
So what do you say?
Let's talk about who he was.
Crazy.
Hold on. Let's talk about who he was. Osweiler, listen, you think Elway knows something about quarterbacks? Recognized who he was. He's a middle-class quarterback. He's not a bum. He's not a star. He wanted to be and got paid like a star, and Elway properly valued him and said, we're not going to pay you that way. In terms of the fact that the defense won the Super Bowl, yes, of course, that's true. All they needed was a quarterback to not screw it up, a quarterback to ride the defense to the chip. Osweiler wasn't even good enough to do that. They had to pull him.
So we're saying right now that Mark Sanchez is going to be the savior.
No.
Okay.
No. You think he's going to be the starter?
So let's talk about this. So we're saying Trevor Siemian is going to be the starter, the savior.
No.
So Paxton Lynch is going to be the guy then.
No, but Colin Kaepernick may have been able to do it. RG3.
There is no Colin Kaepernick.
Fitzpatrick may have been able to do it.
But there is no Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick, there was a market for him.
1 year, $12 million.
I need to get back to something else because I think right now we need to get back to the biggest point in all of this based off of that soliloquy that Darren Woodson went on. John Elway, a two-time Super Bowl champion, who's been to 5 Super Bowls, who's a Hall of Famer, rather, and one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, not to mention as a great executive. He's proven to be this. This man nurtures, he grooms this guy to be the successor to Peyton Manning. And you're going to sit here and say it's more of a possibility that John Elway screwed Brock Osweiler over rather than Brock Osweiler running to Houston?
Absolutely.
You got to be crazy. I can't believe you would say something like that. Really? Really? You got this defense. Think about this. You've got this defense, Max. You're a quarterback for the Denver Broncos. You don't even have to be great. Peyton Manning proved that. You don't even have to be great. I understand they lost. Look, they lost Malik Jackson, they lost Trevathan, they lost the crew. I get that. But the defense is still considered stout. You notice you're the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions, and you can be average and still win another chip. And you leave for Houston.
You just spoke to it right there.
He left because of money and he got pulled.
I mean, listen, you just spoke to it. You just said it.
Not because he's scared. He's a quarterback.
Who he had.
Hold on.
You knew he had.
Hold on. I got to move over here. Molly. I'm going to bring Molly in this. Did Molly... Hold on. I'm sorry, I got to get in light. Hold on.
You got to be careful.
Wait a minute.
He didn't get paid right.
Please. I ain't scared of nobody.
And he got pulled because of Peyton Manning. That's why he left.
I'll say this respectfully, Miss Molly, because I don't want to speak to you in the tone that I spoke to him. But I will get on you about this. Are you trying to tell me that just because you play the quarterback position in the NFL, that there's everybody, no one's scared? No one's scared.
He's not scared.
No, hold on. You said...
I don't think Brock Osweiler...
Your words were... Molly's words were... He's a quarterback.
You gotta have some confidence to be a quarterback in the National Football League.
Let me clear this. As usual, I have to clear all of this up. On the one hand... Elway overplayed his hand.
You've been there for 3 days.
Well, and it's amazing how quickly I established that. In 3 days, Osweiler was not worth the money. That's true. Elway was right about that. On the other hand, you have to have a better backup plan than going into the season with Mark Sanchez as your starter.
Thank you.
He might not be the starter.
Have a backup plan. Let him have one.
I feel you on that. If you want to get on them for not having a backup plan, but understand why. Because he knew that he was going to take care of Brock Osweiler, and he didn't think Osweiler was going to run. Ha!
Well, that's it.
Ha!
You got the last word.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Woodson, why do you always get this man so fired up?
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you.
Darren just does something to mess with me. He just does something to mess with me, man.
Darren will be back with us
Jump, boy, I mean.
From the jump.
Damn
Moving
cowboy.
on. No one's letting me talk. Bill Belichick is vocal about his quarterback situation. We'll tell you what he said and what it means for Brady's future. Darren will be back with us in just a bit. Stay here. So Belichick now has clarity with Brady's situation, and in typical Patriot way fashion, they'll take it day by day. So Max, listening to Bill, let's go there. How much longer does Brady have?
I want to make this very clear, especially for Patriots and Brady fans.
Oh, boy.
Let me start by saying, Patriots fans, listen, okay? I think Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback who ever lived, okay? Are we all clear? He's the greatest quarterback who ever lived. Push comes to shove, over Peyton, over Joe Montana, over John Elway, over everyone I've ever seen. If I had to draft quarterbacks all time to start their careers on my team, I'm taking Tom Brady. Okay, got it? Tom Brady's just about done. It could be his next game he plays, it could be a year from now, but he is going to fall off a cliff. Tom Brady is going to be a bum in short order. Now, what do I base that on?
Can you say that again?
Yes.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Did you just say that Tom Brady is just about done?
Yeah.
And he's going to be a bum in short order? Is that what you just said?
Correct.
A bum in short order.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Now, I said the same thing. I'm a crazy Derek Jeter fan just like you. I'm a crazy Yankees fan from way back. Jeter hits .316. Everyone thinks he can keep going forever. I warned everyone at the time, Derek Jeter is about to fall off a cliff. Peyton Manning threw 55 touchdowns. Then he's following that up on pace to do the same thing. Gets hurt, winds up with 39 touchdowns. I warned everyone at the time, the Peyton Manning you knew is gone. He's dead. He's a memory. This imposter is no longer Peyton Manning. He has fallen off a cliff. Forget about that guy. I warned everyone with Kobe Bryant. He averaged 27 points. Kobe can keep going and going and going. Ruptured his Achilles. I told everyone at the time, Kobe Bryant's career is over. He will never again be a good basketball player. And please spare me the last game of his career. He was good that day. He was basically a terrible basketball player by NBA standards for the rest of his career. Willie Mays and Muhammad Ali fell off at a certain point. You think Tom Brady can't? Now, where is Tom Brady in his career? He's 39 years old in a week. How many quarterbacks in the history of football have passed for over 3,000 yards? Forget about 3,000 yards after the age of 40? 3 quarterbacks in the history of football have passed for over 3,000 yards. Not a very high standard, especially nowadays. In the history of the game, over 40, he's 39. So, will it be this year? Not necessarily. I could see Brady, if he gets through the year without an injury, putting up big numbers, but then it'll be next. He'll be terrible by the middle of next season. No one will remember I said this now, and my prophecy will get no recognition. But, and what's good, let me tell you how it's most likely to happen, and it's not that I'm wishing this on anyone. What happened with Peyton? Injury. What happened with Kobe? Injury. Well, sure, Brady could have kept going if not for that injury. That's what happens as you age. You are likely to suffer father time shows up either in the form of lots of little injuries or maybe one catastrophic injury. But that will happen. Brady will go from being elite, maybe he's still the best, to can no longer play effectively in the NFL. It's going to happen in an eye blink either this year or next.
I thought I was done with stuff like this. No, it may not have been about Brady, but I actually thought I was done with stuff like that. I thought that a new era of First Take, you know, there would be, you know, I can't believe what I just heard. Tom Brady is close, is just about done. Tom Brady is about a year to 18 months from falling off a cliff.
6 months.
Tom Brady. Listen, I have not been the biggest rah-rah, pom-pom dude for Tom Brady. As great as I know he is, I'm from New York, he's in Boston, that means I don't like him, okay? I say that affectionately. I know he's great, but damn it, I'm a begrudgingly give him love. But never, ever in my wildest dreams did I ever believe that I would see anybody as special especially you, who knows sports as well as anybody, who knows, knows what champions are made of, to talk about a four-time champion who you admittedly recognize as the greatest quarterback ever, and you say he's just about done.
This close.
I am going to leave
like the coyote chasing the roadrunner.
Anytime you think about extending your travels beyond the borders of Bristol, Connecticut, and going towards the rest of Connecticut into Massachusetts, I will personally pay for security for you, because the blasphemy that just came out of your mouth. Tom Brady, 6 of the last 7 seasons, this man has passed for over 4,000 yards. The lone exception was when he only played one game, got hurt in 2008. The last 5 years, he has passed for over 4,000 yards. The last 4 years, one of those years, 5,200 yards, another year, 4,800 yards. Last season, 4,770. This dude is on another level. By the way, of their subtractions for the people that they lost this year, none of them happen to be on the offensive side of the ball. The continuity is still there, basically. So whether it's Amendola or Edelman with Gronkowski adding Martellus Bennett, I'm sorry, they're going to be all right. Now, the man got sacked 38 times last year, just 21 a year before. They'll have to improve upon that. Just like it was 43 years ago, it was 21, then last season it was 38. They got to stop allowing this man to get sacked. But what I see in Tom Brady is nothing compared to what I saw in Peyton Manning. Even when Peyton Manning threw for 55 touchdowns, there were a lot of times those balls were fluttering. I don't see that with Tom Brady.
No.
Oh, no.
He didn't have the arm he had a couple years ago.
Let me tell you something right now. Tom Brady has a very, very strong arm. He doesn't rely on his athleticism.
Not anymore, really.
Really?
Yeah, not really. Not really. Not like you used to, no.
You have lost your mind.
Let me ask you this.
Let me ask you this question. I want to make sure. Is your coffee spiked in the morning? What's going on?
A little bit, maybe.
Really? And you're going to admit that?
Listen.
Unbelievable. Go ahead.
Spiked with genius juice.
There we go. Go ahead. I'm listening.
When Kobe Bryant got his contract, a lot of people thought, oh, he's still Kobe Bryant. He's going to be great. Unless you want to use revisionist history, Kobe was one of, considering his usage rate was so high, the last 2 years of his professional life was one of the worst players ever, because no one who was that bad would ever touch the ball that much if it wasn't Kobe Bryant on the Lakers.
I'm offended by that statement.
Derek Jeter.
I'm offended by that statement.
That's okay. Derek Jeter, in the last season of his career, stopped the... no one loves Derek Jeter more than me. Let's be honest.
That's not true.
That's
not true.
That's
not true. Everybody, that is not true. Derek Jeter.
Right.
Oh, you get it. Nobody loves Derek Jeter. El Capitan more than me.
We'll out about that another time.
Well, go ahead.
All right. The point is, the last season of his career, if you just replace him with an average major league shortstop, the Yankees probably make the playoffs that year. He was terrible. He couldn't get to any balls. He couldn't get on base. He couldn't run. He was old.
He was old.
Brady's old.
Listen to me. He was old. Yes. Kobe Bryant, combination of coming off the Achilles, then the knee, and playing with a sorry team, hurt.
Okay.
Fair enough. But we understand the situation Kobe Bryant, that's why I said I'm
what happens when you get old, you get hurt.
Max. I'm not talking about the injuries. I'm saying to you, in the sport of basketball, you can't step on the court with a bunch of brothers that can't play, that don't know how to play on that level.
Especially if you're not going to pass them the ball.
Please don't stop. Who was there to pass the ball to? Who was there to pass the ball to for the Lakers? Who? Roy Hibbert? Stop. Stop it right now. Stop it. Don't give me that.
He was shooting under 40% from the floor. You know why? He wasn't an NBA player anymore.
That's not true. Because
that's not true. For a quarter,
Listen, I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that Kobe was himself.
Okay, forget about Kobe.
Forget Kobe, because it was injury.
Willie Mays at the end of his career was a bad player. Forget Willie Mays. Muhammad Ali at the end of his career couldn't fight anymore. That's what happens.
But we saw that. You bring up Muhammad Ali. I'll go into your realm. We saw it with a Trevor Burbick. We saw it to a degree with Leon Spinks. He was never the same since the third Frazier fight. Okay, we get all of that. What I'm saying to you is this. You're making the argument to me that there is something that we have seen that qualifies as evidence that the greatness of Tom Brady has dissipated, and I'm saying to you, where is that
I will
evidence?
show you the evidence.
Where?
In the historical record. Because unless you believe, and I'm acknowledging he's special, he's the greatest quarterback who ever lived, in my opinion. No question. But unless you believe that he is somehow superhuman, no quarterback ever has played much beyond where he is now at a high level. Well, ever. If he becomes that guy, he will be the first. So unless you believe he will be the first to ever do it, right. I think it's a much safer bet to imagine that he is going to fall off the cliff. Coyote style. Meet me.
One of my boys. That's so disrespectful.
That's how it happens.
So disrespectful.
Father Time is undefeated.
Listen, my boy
he has one draw against Bernard Hopkins.
My boy Champ always texts me to say that, you know what, anybody who leaves the Patriots, they're never the same. The Patriots have the greatest system in play. We get all of that. All I'm saying to you is the reason why I emphatically oppose your argument is that when we look at Brady, we have seen no evidence, as far as I'm concerned, that there is a drop-off.
How many two-yard passes do you have to see before you think there's a reason he's not really throwing it down the field?
No. He ain't throwing it down the field because he got Gronkowski in the middle field, number 1 and number 2, in terms of down the field. Who the hell am I going to throw it to? Brandon LaFell? Who's not there any longer?
Hey,
I mean, are you kidding me?
Don't you imagine that Belichick, who I also believe is the greatest coach who ever lived, is designing a team around the idea that maybe his quarterback can't make all those throws?
Belichick is big time. Brady's big time. There has been no drop off in Brady as of yet. And I'm saying
about to happen.
Oh, wait, but you're acting like you already see it. But you're acting like you already see it, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you don't already see it.
You know what I see?
Stop lying.
I see he's turning 39 in a week.
Stop lying. Stop lying.
His birthday.
Look, man, you in your 40s. You look in your 30s. How come Brady can't do that?
And he didn't believe it.
That's why we're in this business, Stephen A. We could do this forever.
You know what's the silver lining in all of this? Since Brady's going to be a bum this year, next year we get to see Jimmy G. So we'll get to see the future of the Patriots potentially with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Here's the bad news for Patriots haters. Garoppolo's going to ball. That's the problem.
Garoppolo may be able to ball. I'm very, may I say this before we go?
Sure.
Molly, I'm very annoyed right now.
Why?
Because you gave him a nickname. What the hell has Jimmy Garoppolo done to deserve a nickname? His name is Jimmy Garoppolo until further. No, Jimmy G. Could you throw a pass? Could you throw a pass in the regular season first?
Why do all their quarterbacks have to
I used to buy my shell tops at Jimmy G.
Listen, I'm quite sure. I believe he's going to bowl too. But until he does, can we call him by his name?
Jimmy Garoppolo,
Jimmy
Stephen
G.
A. Smith. When we come back, we are getting closer to taking flight with Birdman. The entertainer is here in house. He will join the desk coming up shortly, and we'll talk the contract situation of Antonio Brown, who was called out by Brandon Marshall on Instagram.
Jimmy G.
We got him.
You have more receiving yards than me, I'll give you the Porsche. If I have more receiving yards than you, then you got to give me the Rolls Royce. Check it out.
On the hook.
Well, now, players will report to Steelers camp today, and so will Antonio Brown. Brown will report to camp, but he's made it very clear he wants a new deal where he's compensated like one of the top receivers in the game. Let's keep in mind, Brown coming off a 136-catch season where he earned $1 million. This season, he's scheduled to make $6.25 million. Tyrann Woodson back here with us. We will be at Steelers camp, by the way, next Wednesday. We're looking forward to that. What do you think? Should they take care of him now?
Absolutely. We're talking about a top 3, top 5 receiver in the NFL right now. And their other guy on the other side, Martavis Bryant, he can't stay clean. He's suspended all the time. Right now, Antonio Brown is your offense, and you're still not sure about Le'Veon Bell and what's going to happen with his situation. I look at Antonio Brown as a guy who is the catalyst on the outside. You can move him around, plays a slot receiver, plays on the outside. You can run the quick screen games with him. Punt returns. He is their most explosive football player, and Ben Roethlisberger's absolutely comfortable with him going to the ball with him.
I'm a diehard Steelers fan. I love me some Pittsburgh Steelers. I love me some Coach Mike Tomlin. Colbert's done a good job. I think they're a first-class organization, the Rooneys. It is an absolute disgrace that we even sitting here having this discussion.
That's absolutely true.
Antonio Brown is 28 years of age. This dude, over the last 3 years, 110 receptions, 1,499 yards. 129 receptions, 1,698 yards. 136 receptions, 1,834 yards. Last year, when he had 136 receptions, tying Julio Jones for the league lead and getting 1,834 yards, 5 of those games, Landry Jones or Michael Vick was the quarterback.
Good
Big
point.
Ben Roethlisberger is out. What in the hell is there to talk about? This guy is so big time, and I just said the receiving position. We bring into account punt returns and kickoff returns. This brother is on another level. He deserves his money. He deserves it now. If this were baseball, if this were basketball, although I would say the same thing, I would be a bit more mild-mannered because those salaries are guaranteed. The teams can't come to you to ask you to restructure your deal, to take a pay cut, or whatever. And I would say just deal with it and your time is going to come. But this is the NFL. This is the National Football League. This is the same league that looks players in the face repeatedly. You can actually have an exceptional season, be completely healthy, and an organization can use their finances as an excuse to come to you, ask you to restructure or take a pay cut and get away with it. But this man produces for you time and time again, and you don't pay him after Demaryius Thomas gets paid, after Julio Jones gets paid, after Dez Bryant gets paid, and no disrespect, he's better than all of them right now. Maybe with the exception of Julio Jones, you can debate
any exception.
Okay. So I'm looking at it from the perspective that you got all of that going on, Max. And then I also take into account Martavis Bryant can't stay off the weed. That's a problem. And then not only that, you lost Beacham, your left tackle. Okay, so you bring this kid Harrison, who's considered a downgrade. Now we're talking about the protection of Big Ben Roethlisberger being jeopardized. And the reason why that element is so very, very important, Max, Darren, is because of this. If you can't protect Ben Roethlisberger, and for some reason you can't get the ball off quick enough, or there's things like Darius Green is there now, which is an upgrade at the tight end spot from Heath Miller, who retired, you're going to have an excuse for the numbers to dwindle, possibly. And if that happens, that's going to be the excuse for shortchanging him on the dollars. Nah, he need to get his money right now.
Okay. I think we're talking about 2 different things here. Because if the question, you only left one thing out about Antonio Brown, by the way. All those numbers come against all different kinds of coverage. When you look at how receivers do against all different kinds of coverage, there's only one guy actually who compares to him, and that's Odell Beckham Jr. actually. Against all different kinds of coverage, there's nothing you can do. Antonio Brown is amazing. In a kind of ethical or moral sense, does he deserve the money? Of course he does. Here is the real issue. You're complaining about the CBA. And you have every right to do that. This is a horrendous deal for the players. It always has been. The NFL operates as a de facto monopoly. The players have very little leverage during negotiations. If you're one of the best football players in the world, you can't really peddle your wares anywhere else. There's no real market for it. It's only the NFL, so they can dictate terms during the collective bargaining agreement during those times, and they get exactly what they want. So what do they have here? Let's look at it from the Steelers' point of view. This is one thing I do like about the NFL. It cuts through all the BS about loyalty and how you have to stay true, because in the NFL, they are ruthless. Ruthless. Because there's no guaranteed money. There's basically a hard cap, so they are ruthless. From the Steelers' point of view, what do you do here? You have him under contract not only for this year, but for next year. Now, this is a guy who was concussed when last seen on a football field. There is an injury risk here. I mean, you play football for 2 straight years. There's a very high risk of catastrophic injury that permanently alters the player you are or ends your career. So, Stephen A., from your argument is absolutely right. Given that, this dude needs to get paid. But from the Steelers' point of view, from their point of view, what do they have to give up? He's making about $8.5 million now. Let's take Julio Jones. That's the last guy on this level to get paid. He has guaranteed $47 million. Okay, so there's a $40 million difference. Even if Antonio Brown resets the market by $5 or $10 million, say there's a $45, $50 million difference. Why would they risk all that money now when they can get him on the cheap for the next 2 years? Antonio Brown's the kind of cat who's going to ball regardless. He's not the kind of guy who's going to... We're not about next year, not 2 years from now, I'm talking about this year. Because he still has another year to go. You're going to get another year of supreme elite production out of him on the cheap before you really have to pay him.
You can look at it that way.
But that's the reality.
You can look at it that way, and I'll come to you with this, Darren. You could also look at it this way. This is the perfect time to hold out. because Martavis Bryant is out.
Absolutely. He has leverage. He has so much leverage right now because there's no Martavis Bryant, who was their explosive number 2 guy. And if you're Antonio Brown right now, you're coming in, and everyone knows. I think it plays to his work ethic is detrimental to what he is.
Exactly.
Because you know he's going to show up.
He's going to work regardless.
He's going to work regardless. The problem is within that locker room. When you have a disgruntled Antonio Brown walk in that locker room, Ben Roethlisberger has to spend time consoling him about his contract.
To your point quickly,
you don't want to see that.
This is why you love the Steelers as an organization, because of the Rooneys, even the Rooney Rule. Even the reason that Mike Tomlin even got an interview was due to the Rooney Rule, right? Like, the Steelers are a class, old school, Northeast, original type football team, and the Rooneys, Mike Tomlin, that whole organization, you would expect to reward that kind of work.
The thing about, you would expect them to reward that kind of ethic, but to also think this is something that's incredibly important to take into consideration. Yes, they have 6 championship trophies on their resume. We get this. We get their halls are glittered with gold. But the flip side to it all is that when you have a guy that's universally recognized as maybe the best in the game at his position, and you refuse to take care of him, it's not just about him being disgruntled. It's about the rest of that locker room saying, damn.
Yeah.
Really?
You didn't take
I mean, and again, Beacham is a huge loss. You shouldn't have let him sign to Jacksonville. But we understand it because sometimes you find diamonds in the rough, and Ryan Harris playing that left tackle for you might help elevate things. But if you've got Le'Veon Bell coming back, and D'Angelo Williams as his backup, and you've got Wheaton out there, and now you've got Ladarius Green out there, and you've got Sammy Coates, who's considered somebody with the potential to fill in admirably in the absence of Martavis Bryant. What you have is a situation where this season could very well be used as an excuse to veer in a different direction, thereby facilitating the shortchanging of Antonio Brown, which is something we all have to be cognizant about when we are talking about NFL teams.
I think that's your strongest argument. I think the strongest argument is that the Steelers last year and this year have a chance to be historically special on offense. You have a chance to do something that maybe the Patriots have done once or twice in recent years, to do things that can boggle the mind on offense. When you see all the pieces they have in place, if it all comes together.
And I think they lose that with Martavis Bryant being gone. I picked the Steelers to win it with Martavis Bryant being the guy on the outside opposite of Antonio Brown. Now, even with this situation, I don't see them. I see them being a playoff caliber team, but head and shoulders have them being
it compromises them tremendously.
They're still odds-on second favorite in the AFC.
Yes, odds-on, no doubt about it. The only correction I would make is that all my arguments are strong. I had to teach him that.
I just said it was your strong guess.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Thank you for that permission. Darren, always good to see you. Thank you so much. Great having your perspective. When we come back, rapper, producer, and entrepreneur Birdman will join the show. Stay here.
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony wasn't sure if he was going to play for Team USA in the Olympics when his close friends LeBron James, Chris Paul, and Dwayne Wade decided not to play. That was when the players who committed to the team encouraged Anthony to come back for a chance to win a 3rd Olympic gold medal, an accomplishment no American men's basketball player has yet achieved. Quote, they were saying, it's your time, your Olympics. You should take advantage of this opportunity. Once the guy started reaching out and talking to me about that, it felt good to hear my colleagues want me to have that. Mr. Smith, should Carmelo be playing in the Olympics?
No. It's nothing different than I've told him before. And, you know, I know and got mad respect for all of them, and mad love for him and D-Wade and CP3 in particular. But let me be very, very clear. I don't give a damn about a gold medal. I'm sorry to sound unpatriotic because I'm not. I root for USA. I'm an American, okay, and proud to be one. And I'm going to be rooting for Team USA in everything. I don't care what the event is. I personally don't believe that we need those superstars in order to win gold, number one. Number two, and more importantly, I don't believe NBA superstars should be jeopardizing themselves by participating in Olympic competition when they're getting their checks from NBA teams and owners. But in the case of Carmelo Anthony specifically, let me be very, very clear. I consider, at least up until a year or two ago, I considered Carmelo Anthony one of the top 5 offensive players of this generation. He is that big time. Certainly not so much defensively, but offensively, he is that big time, Max. He is that big time. But he's 32. Over the last 2 seasons, he's missed 52 games. 40 the year before, 10 last year. He isn't 100, even if he is 100% healthy, as you pointed to, age, attrition, father time comes creeping in. Carmelo Anthony has never played in an NBA Finals. Carmelo Anthony is in the league for the last 13 years, and only once has he been to a conference finals. Your boy, one of your boys who you are incredibly tight with, has been to 6 consecutive finals. He's got 3 rings, okay? And he's been to 7 finals in his career. The other one of your boys is a 3-time champion who has been to 5. Aren't conversations just a tad bit odd? Is it just me? Is it just me? I don't know. But what I'm saying is, when I look at it from that perspective, the priority to me should be all about winning a championship, going for it, exhausting every means and measure necessary to get to that point. And when I look at Carmelo Anthony, who has 2 gold medals, now mind you, I wouldn't be saying this if he never played in the Olympics, but he has not won 2 rings. 2 gold medals, I'm sorry. 2. What the hell is a 3rd going to do?
He'd be the first.
Really? That's
Maybe
what,
he feels like I can't get rings, so I'll get 3 medals.
Really? I mean, in America, I'm going to put myself out on the limb. In America, as it pertains to a superstar NBA player, we don't really give a damn if you have a gold medal or not, especially if you already have one. What we care about is the ring. And especially me being a diehard New York Knicks fan, that's what I care about. I don't care to see him in Rio.
Okay. Much as it pains me to agree with my esteemed colleague, Stephen A. Smith, I think we're just going to have to go with the Olympics today. Look, the Olympics are a scam. Kids, the Olympics are a scam, especially for professional players. What do I mean by this? It's a scam. Everyone gets paid. If they asked any one of us to go cover the Olympics, are you doing that for free?
No.
Are you doing that for free? Would this network cover them without selling commercial time? Would the commercials just be buying time to not sell their products, or would they be selling their products? Would the ushers get paid? Is it good for the economy of the city that hosts the Olympics? For the profile of the nation that hosts it? It's good for every single person involved except for labor. The actual participants don't get paid. Boy, that is a sweet deal. And they get duped into competing. And by the way, like you, I'm a patriot. I love this country. I love it. And USA when we're in the Olympics, of course. Hardcore.
I'd rather be.
I'm just saying, let's be honest. The athletes are duped by using this idea of patriotism to make money for everyone involved except for themselves. Now, why did the dream team, why did professional players in the NBA start playing in the first place? Because the rest of the world caught up to us, and it started to get embarrassing. And so we said, okay, how about this? We'll actually send our best players, instead of those Eastern European countries whose best players weren't getting paid anyway and qualified for the Olympics at the time. We're going to send our best players, and we'll see what's what. And we slaughtered everybody. It was over, right? But once that had been established, there's no reason to keep doing it. Now, how about this? How about the Lakers a couple years ago? Pau Gasol competes in the Olympics, not even for Team USA, for Spain. And then he's exhausted by the time the season starts, had a bad season, was getting older, a 7-footer, had injury problems. The Lakers are the team that's paying him, but competing against the United States. And oh, it's a good thing for him. He's competing in the Olympics. No, it wasn't. It was a bad thing for him. And it's a bad thing for Carmelo. You know who the Olympics are good for? Let's be practical about this. Boogie Cousins a couple years ago, right? You have a young 20s emerging star.
See, I don't mind that.
Me neither.
I don't mind
Me
that.
neither. You have an emerging star whose brand is not as significant as his talent and his skills yet, who would be served, his game would be served by being around a winning culture and other world-class players and world-class coaching, and whose recognition would go up by participating, and who's not injury-prone. Very good for a guy like Boogie Cousins. It is idiotic for a guy like Carmelo Anthony. We agree about that.
You know what? To me, I'm not even thinking about the intellect behind it, whether it's an intelligent or idiotic decision. I'm not going there. I got too much respect for him to do that. Where I'm going is that I challenge any basketball fan in the United States of America to genuinely tell me that they care about seeing him in the Olympics. What you care about, if you are a fan of Carmelo Anthony, if you are a Knicks fan, if you are a NBA fan, what you care about when you see Carmelo Anthony is Carmelo Anthony being in peak condition and peak form, ready to vehemently pursue an NBA championship, especially since two of the three brothers you are known for hanging out with most got 6 rings between them.
Amen.
And 12 NBA Finals appearances combined. I mean, come on. I'm just saying.
You don't see any of them playing.
Listen, that's all. I'm like, yo, you got 2 gold medals, you 32, and you are one of the elite NBA offensive players in history, and you have never played in an NBA Finals. I need that. I need that from him.
I'll tell you what I don't want to hear. Oh, why couldn't you get back down the court? Tired, right? Like, you know, now fatigue is no excuse.
I'm not. I don't.
In the upcoming season,
I don't care about a 3rd gold medal for Carmelo Anthony. Right. I care about an elusive 1st championship ring. I want to see him going at LeBron and putting LeBron on his heels because I'm trying to come for what you've got. That's what I want to see from Carmelo.
The Knicks win a championship
That's what I'm saying.
This year are 0.
I understand that.
He could go to the Olympics or not.
I know that's much, but I still appreciate it if he give it to LeBron, though, because he get on the court with LeBron. He's got the talent to do it.
Yeah, no one can stop him offensively.
Nobody can stop Carmelo. Nobody can stop him.
Let's leave it there, gentlemen. Coming up, we have a music mogul in the house, rapper, producer, entrepreneur, Birdman, joining the desk. Can't wait for that. Stay tuned. Bill Belichick is a man of a few words when it comes to the media. However, he did speak yesterday for the first time regarding his quarterback situation as the Patriots open up camp. Tom Brady, of course, serving that 4-game suspension to start the season. Take a listen.
We have, finally some definition with Tom's situation. So our priority now then is to get Jimmy ready for the start of the season for the Arizona game. So that'll be obviously a comprehensive process. Tom will return as the starting quarterback when he comes back. But in the meantime, we have to prioritize the first part of our schedule, and that'll be to get Jimmy ready to go. So it's pretty much where we are for today. Just be a day-by-day, step-by-step process. I think the players are hopefully ready to handle the challenges of training camp, working at different spots, doing the things that we did in the spring, but doing them at a more competitive level, eventually in pads, eventually against good competition on the practice field and in preseason games. And like I said, we'll just take it, we'll just go day by day here.
So Belichick now has clarity with Brady's situation, and in typical Patriot way fashion, they'll take it day by day. So Max, listening to Bill, let's go there. How much longer does Brady have?
I want to make this very clear, especially for Patriots and Brady fans.
Oh, boy.
Let me start by saying, Patriots fans, listen, okay? I think Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback who ever lived, okay? Are we all clear? He's the greatest quarterback who ever lived. Push comes to shove, over Peyton, over Joe Montana, over John Elway, over everyone I've ever seen. If I had to draft quarterbacks all time to start their careers on my team, I'm taking Tom Brady. Okay, got it? Tom Brady's just about done. It could be his next game he plays, it could be a year from now, but he is going to fall off a cliff. Tom Brady is going to be a bum in short order. Now, what do I base that on?
Can you say that again?
Yes.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Did you just say that Tom Brady is just about done?
Yeah.
And he's going to be a bum in short order? Is that what you just said?
Correct.
A bum in short order.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Now, I said the same thing. I'm a crazy Derek Jeter fan just like you. I'm a crazy Yankees fan from way back. Jeter hits 316. Everyone thinks he can keep going forever. I warned everyone at the time, Derek Jeter is about to fall off a cliff. Peyton Manning threw 55 touchdowns. Then he's following that up on pace to do the same thing. Gets hurt, winds up with 39 touchdowns. I warned everyone at the time, the Peyton Manning you knew is gone. He's dead. He's a memory. This imposter is no longer Peyton Manning. He has fallen off a cliff. Forget about that guy. I warned everyone with Kobe Bryant. He averaged 27 points. Kobe can keep going and going and going. Ruptured his Achilles. I told everyone at the time, Kobe Bryant's career is over. He will never again be a good basketball player, and please spare me the last game of his career. He was good that day. He was basically a terrible basketball player by NBA standards for the rest of his career. Willie Mays and Muhammad Ali fell off at a certain point. You think Tom Brady can't? Now, where is Tom Brady in his career? He's 39 years old in a week. How many quarterbacks in the history of football have passed for over 3,000 yards? Forget about 3,000 yards after the age of 40. 3 quarterbacks in the history of football have passed for over 3,000 yards. Not a very high standard, especially nowadays. In the history of the game, over 40, he's 39. So, will it be this year? Not necessarily. I could see Brady, if he gets through the year without an injury, putting up big numbers, but then it'll be next. He'll be terrible by the middle of next season. No one will remember I said this now, and my prophecy will get no recognition. But, and what's good, let me tell you how it's most likely to happen, and it's not that I'm wishing this on anyone. What happened with Peyton? Injury. What happened with Kobe? Injury. Well, sure, Brady could have kept going if not for that injury. That's what happens as you age. You are likely to suffer father time shows up either in the form of lots of little injuries or maybe one catastrophic injury. But that will happen. Brady will go from being elite, maybe he's still the best, to can no longer play effectively in the NFL. It's going to happen in an eye blink either this year or next.
I thought I was done with stuff like this. No, it may not have been about Brady, but I actually thought I was done with stuff like that. I thought that a new era of First Take, you know, there would be, you know, I can't believe what I just heard. Tom Brady is is just about done. Tom Brady is about a year to 18 months from falling off a cliff.
6 months.
Tom Brady. Listen, I have not been the biggest rah-rah, pom-pom dude for Tom Brady. As great as I know he is, I'm from New York, he's in Boston, that means I don't like him, okay? I say that affectionately. I know he's great, but damn it, I'm a begrudgingly give him love. But never, ever in my wildest dreams did I ever believe that I would see anybody, especially you, who knows sports as well as anybody, who knows, knows what champions are made of, to talk about a 4-time champion who you admittly recognize as the greatest quarterback ever, and you say he's just about done.
This close.
I am going to leave
like the coyote chasing the roadrunner.
Anytime you think about extending your travels beyond the borders of Bristol, Connecticut, and going towards the rest of Connecticut into Massachusetts, I will personally pay for security for you, because the blasphemy that just came out of your mouth. Tom Brady, 6 of the last 7 seasons, this man has passed for over 4,000 yards. The lone exception was when he only played one game, got hurt in 2008. The last 5 years, he has passed for over 4,000 yards. The last 4 years, one of those years, 5,200 yards, another year, 4,800 yards. Last season, 4,770. This dude is on another level. By the way, of their subtractions for the people that they lost this year, none of them happen to be on the offensive side of the ball. The continuity is still there, basically. So whether it's Amendola or Edelman with Gronkowski adding Martellus Bennett, I'm sorry, they're going to be all right. Now, the man got sacked 38 times last year, just 21 a year before. They'll have to improve upon that. Just like it was 43 years ago, it was 21, then last season it was 38. They got to stop allowing this man to get sacked. But what I see in Tom Brady is nothing compared to what I saw in Peyton Manning. Even when Peyton Manning threw for 55 touchdowns, there were a lot of times those balls were fluttering. I don't see that with Tom Brady.
Oh, no. He doesn't have the arm he had a couple years ago.
Let me tell you something right now. Tom Brady has a very, very strong arm. He doesn't rely on his athleticism.
Not anymore, really.
Really?
Yeah, not really. Not really, not like you used to, no.
You have lost your mind.
Let me ask you this.
Let me ask you this question. I want to make sure, is your coffee spiked in the morning? What's going on?
A little bit, maybe.
Really? And you're going to admit that? Unbelievable. Go ahead.
Spiked with genius juice.
There we go. Go ahead. I'm listening.
When Kobe Bryant got his contract, a lot of people thought, oh, he's still Kobe Bryant. He's going to be great. Unless you want to use revisionist history, Kobe was one of, considering his usage rate was so high, the last 2 years of his professional life was one of the worst players ever because no one who was that bad would ever touch the ball that much if it wasn't Kobe Bryant on the Lakers.
I'm offended by that statement.
Derek Jeter.
I'm offended by that statement.
That's okay. Derek Jeter, in the last season of his career, stopped the... no one loves Derek Jeter more than me. Let's be honest.
That's not true.
That's
not true.
That's
not true. Everybody, that is not true. Derek Jeter.
Right.
Oh, you get it. Nobody loves Derek Jeter. El Capitan more than me.
We'll battle it out about that another time.
Well, go ahead.
All right. The point is, the last season of his career, if you just replace him with an average major league shortstop, the Yankees probably make the playoffs that year. He was terrible. He couldn't get any balls. He couldn't get on base. He couldn't run. He was old.
He was old.
Brady's old.
Listen to me. He was old. Yes. Kobe Bryant, combination of coming off the Achilles, then the knee, and playing with a sorry team, hurt.
Okay.
Fair enough. But we understand the situation Kobe Bryant, that's why I said I'm
what happens when you get old, you get hurt.
Max. I'm not talking about the injuries. I'm saying to you, in the sport of basketball, you can't step on the court with a bunch of brothers that can't play, that don't know how to play on
Especially
that level.
If you're not going to pass them the ball.
Please don't stop. Who is there to pass the ball to? Who is there to pass the ball to for the Lakers? Roy Hibbert? Stop it right now. Stop it. Don't give me that.
He was shooting under 40% from the floor. You know why? He wasn't an NBA player anymore.
That's not true. Because
he couldn't sustain to do it for a quarter,
I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that Kobe was himself.
Okay,
forget Kobe because it was injury.
Willie Mays at the end of his career was a bad player. Forget Willie Mays. Muhammad Ali at the end of his career couldn't fight anymore. That's what happens.
But we saw that. You bring up Muhammad Ali. I'll go into your realm. We saw it with a Trevor Burbick. We saw it to a degree with Leon Spinks. He was never the same since the third Frazier fight. Okay, we get all of that. What I'm saying to you is this. You're making the argument to me that there is something that we have seen that qualifies as evidence that the greatness of Tom Brady has dissipated, and I'm saying to you, where is that
I will
evidence?
show you the evidence.
Where?
In the historical record. Because unless you believe, and I'm acknowledging he's special, he's the greatest quarterback who ever lived, in my opinion. No question. But unless you believe that he is somehow superhuman, no quarterback ever has played much beyond where he is now at a high level. Ever. If he becomes that guy, he will be the first. So unless you believe he will be the first to ever do it, I think it's a much safer bet to imagine that he is going to fall off the cliff. Coyote style. Meet me.
One of my boys. That's so disrespectful.
That's how it happens.
So disrespectful.
Father Time is undefeated.
Listen, my boy
he has one draw against Bernard Hopkins.
My boy Champ always texts me to say that, you know what, anybody who leaves the Patriots, they're never the same. The Patriots have the greatest system in play. We get all of that. All I'm saying to you is the reason why I emphatically oppose your argument is that when we look at Brady, we have seen no evidence, as far as I'm concerned, that there is a drop-off.
How many 2-yard passes do you have to see before you think there's a reason he's not really throwing it down the field?
No. He ain't throwing it down the field because he got Gronkowski in the middle field, number 1 and number 2, in terms of down the field. Who the hell am I going to throw it to? Brandon LaFell? Who's not there any longer. I mean, are you kidding me?
Don't you imagine that Belichick, who I also believe is the greatest coach who ever lived, is designing a team around the idea that maybe his quarterback can't make all those throws?
Belichick is big time. Brady's big time. There has been no drop off in Brady as of yet. And I'm saying
to happen.
Oh, wait, but you're acting like you already see it. But you're acting like you already see it, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you
I
don't
do.
already see it.
You know what I
Stop
see?
lying.
I see he's turning
Stop
39
lying.
in a week.
Stop lying. Stop
His
lying.
birthday.
Look, man, you in your 40s. You look in your 30s.
I told him that the other day, and he didn't believe it.
That's why we're in this business, Stephen A. We could do this forever.
You know what's the silver lining in all of this? Since Brady's going to be a bum this year, next year we get to see Jimmy G. So we'll get to see the future of the Patriots potentially with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Here's the bad news for Patriots haters. Garoppolo's going to ball. That's the problem.